Tyler had always been the kind of guy who wanted attention. From the time he was a kid, he liked being the loudest voice in the room. When social media came along, it felt like it was made just for him. He started filming little pranks with his friends, posting them online, and for a while, people loved it. His videos were funny, sometimes even clever. But over the years, as more creators joined the platform, it became harder to stand out. His audience wanted bigger reactions, wilder stunts, more drama. And Tyler, afraid of fading into the background, gave them exactly that. He started planning social experiments that were really just pranks meant to make other people look bad. Sometimes he'd fake getting robbed or spill a drink on someone and film their reaction. Anything that could get views, he did it. His motto was simple: if it goes viral, it's worth it. But lately, his videos weren't performing the way they used to. The numbers were dropping. The comments were turning against him. Some people said his content had gone too far. Others said it wasn't funny anymore. Sponsors started pulling out. So when he woke up that morning, scrolling through his empty notifications, he told himself he needed to do something big, something that would get everyone talking again. He put on his usual outfit, a hoodie with his channel logo, and grabbed his camera. His friend, who usually helped him film, met him downtown. The plan was simple, or so Tyler thought. He'd pretend someone stole his wallet, make a scene, and then reveal it was all a joke. People love that stuff, he said confidently as they walked toward a crowded street near a cafe. His friend looked unsure. Maybe pick someone who won't get mad, he said quietly. Tyler smirked. Relax, I've done this 100 times. The streets were busy with people coming and going, sipping coffee, heading to work. Tyler scanned the crowd, looking for someone who would make the perfect target. His camera was already recording. Then he saw him. A man standing near a cafe wearing a neat gray suit holding a briefcase. He looked calm, dignified, maybe in his late 40s. To Tyler, that made it perfect. All right, he whispered. Watch this. He jogged toward the man, patting his pockets in fake panic. Hey, my wallet, where's my wallet? He shouted. He turned toward the man in the suit and pointed. You were right behind me. Did you just take my wallet? The man blinked in confusion. Excuse me? He said softly. Tyler raised his voice, making sure everyone nearby could hear. Yeah, I had it a second ago and now it's gone. You think you can just take it and walk away? People stopped walking. Phones came out. Some bystanders started recording. The man looked at him calmly. Young man, I didn't take anything from you, he said. His voice was low but firm. Then why were you following me? Tyler snapped. Check your pockets. Let's see what you're hiding. The man sighed and placed his briefcase on the ground. I wasn't following you. I was waiting for my coffee. Tyler kept shouting, pretending to search his own jacket, pretending to be angry. Inside, he felt the thrill he always got when a crowd formed. Cameras meant attention. Attention meant views. A woman nearby frowned. You shouldn't accuse someone without proof, she said. Tyler ignored her. He looked straight into his own camera and said, This is what happens in the city, people. You can't even trust anyone these days. The man in the suit didn't react. He simply stood there watching Tyler carefully. Then he said, I think you should calm down. Calm down? Tyler barked. You're the one who should calm down after giving me my wallet back. He took a step closer, hoping for a reaction, something dramatic he could clip for his video. But the man didn't flinch. He just looked disappointed. A cafe worker stepped outside asking if everything was okay. This man says his wallet was stolen, a woman explained. The worker pointed toward the cafe door. There's a camera inside. You can check the footage. For the first time, Tyler hesitated. His friend lowered the camera slightly. Dude, he whispered, maybe we should stop. This is getting weird, but Tyler didn't want to stop. Not yet. He wanted that big reaction. No, we'll check. He probably hid it. The man shook his head and said quietly, I think you've done enough. Within minutes, 2 police officers arrived. Someone had called them after hearing the commotion. Tyler felt a rush of excitement. This was perfect. More drama meant more clicks. One of the officers, a tall man with kind eyes, stepped between them. What's going on here? Tyler pointed. That man took my wallet. I had it right before he walked by. The officer turned to the man in the suit. Sir, do you have anything to say? The man handed him an ID card. Officer, my name is Lewis. I'm an agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I was standing here waiting for my coffee. I did not take anything. Tyler froze. The street suddenly felt very quiet. The people watching started whispering. Lewis continued, "You're welcome to check the cafe cameras. They'll show exactly what happened." The officer looked at the ID, nodded respectfully, and said to Tyler, "We'll verify everything. In the meantime, sir, please stay calm." Tyler's throat went dry. His friend turned off the camera without saying a word. The officer asked the cafe manager to pull the footage. Within minutes, the truth was on screen. Tyler could see himself approaching Lewis, pretending to panic, shouting for attention. There was no theft, no wallet missing, just his performance and the crowd reacting. The officer looked at Tyler with disappointment. "You want to explain this?" Tyler swallowed hard. It was a prank. I was just filming a video. I didn't mean any harm." Lewis folded his arms. "A prank?" he repeated. "You accused a stranger of theft in front of witnesses, called the police, and caused a scene for a prank?" Tyler tried to smile, but it didn't work. "It's for social media. People like real reactions. I was going to tell you it was fake after a minute." The officer sighed. "This isn't funny, son. You can't just make false accusations for entertainment." Lewis didn't raise his voice, but there was a weight in his words. "Do you have any idea what could have happened? What if the police believed you before checking the footage? What if someone reacted violently?" Tyler looked down. "I didn't think about that," he muttered. "No," Lewis said quietly. "You didn't." The officers took down statements. They didn't arrest Tyler, but they made it clear there would be consequences if it happened again. His friend tried to apologize on his behalf, but Lewis only said, "You both need to learn what accountability means." As they walked away, the crowd slowly dispersed. Tyler could feel people staring at him, whispering. His face burned with embarrassment. He tried to laugh it off, but no one laughed back. Even his friend looked ashamed. When they reached their car, his friend finally spoke. "Man, what were you thinking? You can't do that to people." Tyler leaned against the car, rubbing his forehead. "I don't know. It just felt like a good idea at the time." "Good idea?" his friend said. "You just tried to frame a federal agent. You're lucky he didn't press charges." Tyler didn't answer. He sat in silence, staring at his phone. Notifications were already popping up. Videos of the scene had spread online. Strangers had filmed the entire thing. And this time, he wasn't the hero of the story. One caption read, "Influencer tries to frame innocent man, instantly regrets it." Another one said, "This is what happens when clout goes too far." The comments were brutal. People called him heartless, reckless, fake. Some even demanded his account be banned. That night, Tyler didn't sleep. He kept refreshing his feed, watching his reputation fall apart in real time. For years, he had worked to build a following, to be seen and heard. Now the same people who cheered for him were tearing him down. He thought about deleting everything, his videos, his account, even his channel name, but he didn't. He just sat there, staring at the screen. Somewhere deep down, a small part of him knew this wasn't over, because Agent Lewis hadn't said his final word. Before leaving the scene, Lewis had looked at him one last time and said, "You might want to stop filming for a while. Something tells me we'll talk again soon." At the time, Tyler didn't know what that meant, but he was about to find out. The next morning, Tyler woke up with a headache and a pit in his stomach. His phone was buzzing nonstop. He didn't want to check, but curiosity got the better of him. The notifications were endless, hundreds of comments, tags, and messages. But they weren't the kind he used to get. There were no laughing emojis or praise for his crazy ideas. Instead, people were angry. One comment said, "This guy tried to ruin a man's life for views." Another read, "Hope he gets banned for this nonsense." There were even videos made by other creators reacting to his prank, calling him out for crossing the line. Tyler scrolled in disbelief. He wanted to believe it would blow over, like all internet scandals do. But as he watched, the story kept spreading. He rubbed his eyes, trying to make sense of it. "It was just a prank," he muttered to himself. People are too sensitive these days. Still, deep down, he knew this wasn't the same as his usual stunts. Something about that man, Agent Lewis, had shaken him. The calmness, the authority, the way he didn't even flinch when Tyler made the accusation. He wasn't just another random stranger. He carried a presence that Tyler couldn't forget. By afternoon, things got worse. His manager called. "Tyler, we need to talk," the voice said flatly. "What on earth did you do yesterday?" Tyler tried to explain. It was a misunderstanding. It was supposed to be a prank. The manager cut him off. A prank? You accuse someone of stealing in public. Do you realize how serious that looks? I didn't mean any harm, Tyler said weakly. Well, meaning doesn't matter now. The video's everywhere. Our sponsors have already reached out. They're dropping you, at least for now. Tyler felt his chest tighten. All of them? Yes, and the platform might review your account too. You should lay low, stop posting for a while. He hung up and sat there staring at the wall. His whole world, everything he built for years, was crumbling over one bad decision. For the next few days, Tyler barely left his apartment. He didn't film, didn't edit, didn't post. He just watched as people dissected his prank over and over again. Some videos showed the uncut footage, proving the man he accused had done nothing wrong. Others used his own clips, replaying the moment he pointed and shouted, making him look like a villain. Everywhere he looked, he saw his own face, and none of it looked good. Then, 3 days later, there was a knock at his door. When he opened it, 2 men in suits stood outside. They weren't wearing uniforms, but their serious expressions said enough. Tyler, one of them said, showing a badge. I'm Agent Miller. We're here to speak with you regarding the incident downtown earlier this week. Tyler's stomach dropped. You mean the prank? Yes, Miller said. We'd like to ask a few questions. He invited them in, his hands trembling slightly. The other man stayed near the door, scanning the room with quiet attention. Miller sat across from him. You're aware that the man you accused, Agent Lewis, works with federal law enforcement? Tyler nodded nervously. I didn't know that at the time. And yet you made a public accusation, caused a scene, and uploaded the footage to social media? I didn't upload it, Tyler said quickly. Other people did. I didn't even post the video myself. Miller opened a folder. That's true. But your actions led to a false report and could have caused serious consequences. Do you understand that? Tyler nodded again. His mouth felt dry. The agent continued. We've reviewed your past videos. Some of them show similar behavior, accusing strangers, creating chaos, pushing limits for reactions. Have you ever considered that what you call pranks might actually be harassment? Tyler didn't know what to say. He stared at the floor. I didn't think about it that way. I just wanted people to laugh. Did they laugh? Miller asked quietly. Or did they laugh at the people you targeted? That question hit him hard. He didn't answer. After a moment, Miller closed the folder. Agent Lewis isn't pressing criminal charges for now, but he's filed an official report. There will be consequences. You might be asked to appear in a hearing about online misconduct. Tyler looked up, startled. A hearing? What kind of hearing? It's not jail, Miller said calmly. But it's serious. It's about accountability. Think of it as a lesson. The agent stood to leave. As they reached the door, Miller turned and said, You're lucky, Tyler. Some people wouldn't have handled this as kindly as he did. When they left, Tyler sat on the couch, his heart pounding. He felt a strange mix of relief and fear. He wasn't being arrested, but the weight of what he'd done was finally sinking in. That night, he looked through old videos on his channel. For the first time, they didn't seem funny. He watched himself yelling at strangers, pretending to fall, starting fake arguments. All the things that once made him proud now made him feel embarrassed. He could see the discomfort on people's faces, the confusion in their eyes. How had he never noticed before? Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life wasn't over. Maybe he could fix this. Maybe he could make people understand it wasn't meant to hurt anyone. The next morning, he recorded a video. Sitting in front of the camera, he spoke slowly. Hey everyone, I know you've seen what happened. I just want to say I'm sorry. I didn't think about how serious that prank was. I was chasing views and I lost perspective. I never wanted to hurt anyone. He paused, looking down for a second before continuing. I met with the authorities. I learned that the man I accused is an FBI agent. He didn't deserve that. Nobody does. I need to take some time away to figure things out. He uploaded it and turned off his phone. For a few hours, he felt a little lighter. But when he finally checked the comments, the response was mixed. Some people appreciated the apology, but others called it fake. He's only sorry because he got caught. This is damage control. Too late now. He sighed, closing the app. Maybe no one would believe him, and maybe they were right. Days turned into weeks. The buzz around his name started to fade, replaced by new stories, new controversies. But Tyler couldn't move on that easily. Every time he went outside, he felt like people recognized him. Even when they didn't, he still felt the guilt. Then one afternoon, an email arrived. The subject line read, "Request for meeting, Federal Public Affairs Office." At first, he thought it was a scam. But when he opened it, he realized it was real. It was signed by Agent Lewis. The message was short and direct. "Mr. Tyler, I believe there's value in understanding consequences beyond punishment. I'd like to speak with you. Please meet me at the Federal Building on Friday, 10 a.m. Tyler stared at the screen for a long time. He didn't know if it was a trap or a chance to make things right. But something in the tone, calm, almost respectful, made him curious. Friday morning came faster than expected. He wore a plain shirt and jeans, no cameras, no team. As he stood in front of the tall glass building, he felt small. Inside, security checked his ID and directed him to a quiet office. Lewis was already there, sitting behind a desk. "Have a seat," Lewis said, motioning to the chair across from him. His voice was steady but not cold. Tyler sat down, trying not to fidget. "Thank you for seeing me," he said nervously. Lewis studied him for a moment. "You know, when that happened, I wasn't angry," he said. "I was disappointed, not just in you, but in what the world has become. People think lies are entertainment." Tyler nodded. "I know. I didn't mean for it to get that far." "I believe you," Lewis said. "But intention isn't the same as impact. You could have caused real harm." "I know," Tyler whispered. "I wish I could take it back." Lewis leaned back. "You can't, but you can learn. That's why I asked you here. I run a community program for young people who've been caught doing similar things online, spreading hate, pranks, false accusations. We teach them about responsibility. You're going to join us," Tyler blinked. "Join you like volunteer?" "Yes," Lewis said. "Consider it part of your consequence. You'll talk to them about what you did, and maybe they'll learn something from it." Tyler didn't know how to react. Part of him wanted to say no, to walk out and forget this ever happened. But another part of him, one that hadn't spoken up in a long time, knew this was the right thing to do. "I'll do it," he said quietly. Lewis nodded once. "Good. We'll start next week." As Tyler left the building, he felt different. Lighter, maybe. He wasn't off the hook, but for the first time in years, he felt like he was doing something real. Not for views, not for clicks, just because it was the right thing to do. And deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The next week, Tyler arrived at the community center that Agent Lewis had told him about. It was an old brick building with a sign that read Pathway Youth Program. The parking lot was half full and a group of teenagers sat outside on the steps, talking and laughing. Tyler felt nervous as he walked in. He had no idea what to expect. Inside, the walls were covered with posters about kindness, digital safety, and responsibility online. There was a buzz in the air. People talking, setting up chairs, preparing for a workshop. Lewis was already there, standing near the front with a clipboard in hand. When he saw Tyler, he gave a small nod. "Glad you came," he said. Tyler managed a quiet smile. "Yeah, I said I would." Lewis gestured toward the group. "These young people are here because they've made mistakes online. Cyberbullying, pranks, false posts, things like that. They're not bad kids, just lost in the noise of social media. Sound familiar?" Tyler nodded. "Too familiar." "Good," Lewis said. "Then you'll fit right in." He led Tyler to a circle of chairs. There were about 15 people there, mostly teens between 14 and 18. They looked curious when Tyler sat down, some whispering to each other. One boy whispered, "Isn't that the guy from the video?" Another one shushed him. Lewis began the session by speaking calmly. "Today we have someone joining us who's made a mistake, learned from it, and is here to talk about it honestly. Tyler, would you like to start?" Tyler froze for a moment. Every eye in the room was on him. He could feel the weight of their curiosity. He cleared his throat. "I guess most of you already know what happened," he said. "Yeah, that was me in that video. I thought it'd be funny to accuse someone of stealing as a prank. It wasn't funny. It was stupid. A few kids looked down. Others nodded slowly. I did it because I was desperate for attention," he continued. "I thought likes and views mattered more than anything else. But I learned something the hard way. You can go viral for the wrong reasons, too." One girl raised her hand. "Did you know the guy was FBI?" "No," Tyler said, shaking his head. "I had no idea. But that's not the point. Even if he wasn't, it still would have been wrong. I put someone through humiliation for no reason. There was silence for a few seconds. Then a boy in the back spoke up. I posted a video making fun of a classmate. It got a bunch of likes, but then the school found out. They made me delete it. Tyler looked at him. How did that make you feel? The boy shrugged. I don't know. At first I didn't care, but later I saw how hurt she was. Tyler nodded slowly. Yeah, that's how it starts. You think it's nothing until you see the damage you caused. Lewis watched quietly from the corner, letting the conversation flow. He could tell Tyler was speaking from the heart. As the session went on, more kids opened up. A girl admitted she created a fake account to make fun of people from her school. Another said he joined in online arguments just to get attention. Each story had something in common. They were all chasing validation. When it was over, Lewis approached Tyler. You did well today, he said. Tyler gave a small smile. I didn't really do anything. You were honest, Lewis said. That's a start. Most people don't get there until it's too late. Over the next few weeks, Tyler kept coming back. The sessions became a routine. Every Wednesday afternoon, he'd sit in that same circle, listening to the stories, sharing his own, and helping others realize the same mistakes he once made. He started to understand something that had never crossed his mind before: how much power one post, one video, one like could have one afternoon. After a session ended, Lewis asked him to stay back. They sat together in the empty room as the others left. Tell me something, Lewis said. Why did you start doing these pranks in the first place? Tyler thought for a moment. Honestly, I liked feeling seen. When people laughed or shared my videos, I felt important, like I mattered. Lewis nodded slowly. That's what most people want, to matter. The problem is social media tricks you into thinking attention equals worth. But they're not the same. Tyler looked at him. You ever deal with something like that? Lewis smiled faintly. Not with videos, no. But I've seen plenty of people ruin their lives chasing the wrong kind of validation. That's why I started this program. They sat in silence for a moment. Tyler could tell Lewis wasn't trying to lecture him. He spoke like someone who understood human weakness. That night, Tyler went home and thought about what Lewis said. He opened his old camera app but didn't record anything. He just stared at the lens. For years, it had been his best friend and his worst habit. It gave him everything and took everything away. He closed it and went to bed. The next week, Lewis invited him to help with a new project. The center was launching a campaign to raise awareness about digital responsibility. They were making short clips to post online, showing real stories of people who learned from their mistakes. You can help direct or film, Lewis said. It's not about going viral. It's about being real. Tyler hesitated. I'm not sure anyone would want to hear from me. They will, Lewis said, because you've been there. People listen more when they know you've lived it. So, he agreed, he spent days helping the team film interviews. Teenagers talked about how they lost friends over online drama, how they regretted saying hurtful things for clout. Tyler filmed every scene with care. This time, the goal wasn't to get clicks, it was to tell the truth. When the videos were finally posted, something unexpected happened. People actually responded with kindness. There were comments like, "This is powerful," and "glad to see someone using their platform for good." For the first time, Tyler felt proud of something he made. Not because it was popular, but because it was honest. One afternoon, as they wrapped up filming, Lewis handed him a folder. Inside was a copy of the report from the prank incident. You can keep this, Lewis said. It's closed now. You've done your part. Tyler stared at the paper, speechless. You mean, it's over? Lewis nodded. You've shown real effort to make things right. That's what matters. A wave of relief washed over him. Thank you, he said quietly. I won't waste it. I know you won't, Lewis said with a small smile. But remember, doing good isn't about making up for the past. It's about changing who you are moving forward. That night, Tyler sat in his room and thought about everything that had happened. Just months ago, he was chasing fame, not caring who got hurt along the way. Now he was sitting in a community center, helping strangers understand compassion. He realized how far he'd come, but also how close he came to losing everything. As he looked through old clips still sitting on his hard drive, he decided it was time to delete them all. The pranks, the arguments, the fake outrage, they didn't belong to him anymore. He wasn't proud of that person. Instead, he opened a new folder and started jotting ideas for real stories. Positive ones about lessons learned, about second chances, about people helping others. It wasn't about fame anymore. It was about purpose. The next week, during another session, one of the teens who had been quiet for weeks finally spoke up. "I watched your new video," the boy said softly. "It made me think. I deleted some stuff I'd posted. I didn't want to be that person either." Tyler smiled. "That's good. That's where change starts." Lewis, standing nearby, caught his eye and gave a small nod. It was the kind of look that didn't need words. By the end of the month, the Pathway Youth Program had grown bigger. More people were joining. More schools wanted to partner. Tyler helped plan events, film workshops, and talk to new members. Slowly, he was rebuilding not just his image, but his character. He wasn't the same person who chased chaos for likes. He was finally learning what it meant to have influence, the kind that made a difference, not a mess. And though he didn't know it yet, that change was about to take him even further. Because one day soon, Agent Lewis would ask him to join a project that could change both their lives in ways neither expected. Over the next few weeks, Tyler became more involved in the Pathway Youth Program than he ever expected. What had started as a way to make amends had grown into something meaningful. He was helping with workshops, mentoring teens, and even brainstorming ideas for new campaigns about digital responsibility. Each session left him feeling more grounded. One Monday morning, Lewis approached him with an idea. "Tyler," he said, "I have a project that might interest you. It's bigger than anything we've done here so far, but it will require full commitment." Tyler's heart skipped a beat. "What kind of project?" Lewis smiled faintly. "We're partnering with schools across the city to create a series of interactive lessons on online behavior. You'd help design the content, film scenarios, and speak to students directly. It's about showing them the real consequences of online actions, using stories people can relate to." Tyler felt a mix of excitement and nerves. "You want me to talk to classrooms?" "Yes," Lewis said. "And I want you to share your story honestly. No sugarcoating. They need to see that making one bad choice can affect a lot of people." For the first time in years, Tyler felt a sense of purpose that had nothing to do with likes or followers. "I can do that," he said. The first day was harder than he expected. Standing in front of a classroom of teenagers, he felt exposed. Their eyes were curious, some skeptical, some judging. He could see himself in them. The need for attention, the urge to be seen, the temptation to cross lines online. He started slowly, telling them about his videos, the prank that went wrong, and how he had humiliated an innocent man for content. He explained how he didn't realize the person he accused was a federal agent until it was too late, and how seeing the consequences made him rethink everything. At first, the room was quiet. He could feel the tension. Then a boy raised his hand. "So, you were just lucky he didn't press charges?" Tyler nodded. "Yes, extremely lucky. But luck isn't a plan. I had to face consequences anyway. Public backlash, losing opportunities, and having to work hard to earn trust again." Another girl spoke up. "Did it change the way people treated you?" Tyler sighed. "Yes, some people stopped talking to me. Others criticized me endlessly online. I had to learn the hard way that chasing attention without thinking about the impact can destroy trust and relationships." As he spoke, he noticed a shift. The students started to open up. One shared how he had posted a hurtful comment online and regretted it when his friend confronted him. Another admitted to creating a fake account to prank someone and realized it had gone too far. By the end of the session, Tyler felt exhausted, but fulfilled. He had faced judgment head-on and seen the teens start to reflect on their own actions. After the class, Lewis approached him. "You did well," he said quietly. "They needed to hear the truth, not a filtered version of it." "That's what makes impact real," Tyler nodded. "I just hope it helps them avoid making the same mistakes." "It will," Lewis said. "Real stories stick. The rest is up to them." Over the following weeks, Tyler continued to speak at schools. With each session, he grew more confident. He stopped thinking about how he looked on camera or how many views the videos would get. Instead, he focused on the message. Actions online have consequences in real life. At the same time, his reputation online slowly began to recover. People noticed his shift in content, from pranks that humiliated strangers to videos highlighting real-life lessons and personal growth. His old subscribers came back, not to see chaos but to see honesty. One afternoon, after a particularly long workshop, Lewis asked him to join a meeting at the program's headquarters. "There's something I want to show you," he said. Inside the office, Lewis introduced him to a group of law enforcement officers and educators. "Tyler," he said, "you've proven that you can turn a mistake into a lesson. Now we want to take it further. We're launching a citywide campaign to promote digital accountability. Your role will be to help create stories, videos, and interactive materials for students, parents, and teachers." Tyler felt a mix of pride and nervousness. "Wow, that's big." "It is," Lewis said, "but you're ready. You've seen what happens when online actions go unchecked. You know how powerful it can be to show the consequences, honestly." Tyler nodded, determination settling in. "I'll do my best." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Tyler worked closely with Lewis and the team, brainstorming scenarios that students could relate to. They filmed videos showing the effects of cyberbullying, false accusations, and harmful pranks. Tyler even helped write scripts based on real stories from his workshops. Each day he saw the difference he was making. Students started sharing their own experiences online, not for attention but to help others learn. Parents thanked him for opening their eyes to what was happening in their children's digital lives. Teachers praised the program for providing realistic lessons rather than just lectures. One evening, after a long day of filming, Tyler and Lewis sat in the office, reviewing the week's work. "You know," Lewis said, "it's rare to see someone change so quickly. Most people stick to their old habits until something drastic happens. You chose to do the work instead." Tyler smiled faintly. "I guess I didn't want to waste the second chance I was given." "You haven't wasted it," Lewis said. "Not yet. But the real challenge is maintaining it. The world will test you, Tyler. People will remember your past mistakes. You'll be tempted to fall back into old habits. But if you stay true, you can have a real impact." Tyler nodded, understanding the weight of those words. It wasn't enough to just change. He had to keep changing, keep proving that growth was possible. A few days later, the campaign officially launched. Videos Tyler had helped create were posted online, reaching schools and families throughout the city. The response was overwhelming. Comments praised the honesty of the content, the relatability of the stories, and the importance of teaching digital responsibility. Tyler read through the comments quietly, a lump forming in his throat. He realized something he hadn't thought about in years. His actions could actually do good, not just for himself, but for countless others. One afternoon, as he was walking back from a school visit, his phone rang. It was Lewis. "Tyler, I have a proposition," Lewis said. "We've been approached to help develop a national initiative. If you're willing, your role could expand to reaching students across the country." Tyler paused, thinking about how far he'd come. From being the guy who staged a fake accusation for views to someone trusted to teach thousands about accountability, it was almost unbelievable. "I'm in," he said finally. "Good," Lewis said. "But remember, this isn't about fame or recognition. It's about influence with purpose. Never forget that." "I won't," Tyler promised. As he hung up, Tyler felt a quiet pride settle over him. He wasn't perfect. He had made mistakes that could have ruined lives, but he had chosen to face them, to learn from them, and to help others avoid the same path. That night, he reflected on everything that had happened. He thought about the first moment he had confronted Agent Lewis downtown, the shame and panic he had felt, and how that one encounter had changed the trajectory of his life. He realized something important. Sometimes, the people you think are strangers, people you underestimate or misjudge, can end up teaching you the most important lessons of your life. Tyler also understood that change wasn't a single moment. It was a series of small choices repeated every day, choosing honesty over deception, compassion over cruelty, understanding over judgment. He felt a sense of gratitude he hadn't known before for Lewis, for the teens who trusted him, for the opportunity to make a real difference. And he knew that the journey wasn't over. There were still challenges ahead, new lessons to learn, and more people to reach. But for the first time, Tyler felt a deep certainty that he was heading in the right direction. Not because the world would notice him, not because he wanted applause, but because he finally understood the real value of influence and the responsibility that came with it. And in that quiet certainty, he found peace. Months had passed since Tyler had first met Agent Lewis. The incident that had once threatened to ruin his life had become the turning point that shaped it into something better. He had changed, not just for others, but for himself. He woke up each day with a new sense of purpose, and the idea of chasing attention for the wrong reasons felt foreign. Tyler's role in the citywide campaign had grown beyond what he imagined. He traveled to schools, community centers, and youth events, sharing real stories about the consequences of online behavior. Each time he spoke, he could see the impact in the eyes of the students, the way they leaned in when he described the choices he had made and the lessons he had learned. It wasn't easy. Some days were discouraging. Some teens were defiant or skeptical, questioning whether he had really changed or if he was just another adult telling them what to do. But Tyler stayed patient. He listened to their stories, acknowledged their struggles, and always spoke honestly. That honesty became his most powerful tool. One afternoon, he arrived at a school for a workshop with a group of ninth graders. The principal greeted him warmly and introduced him to the students, explaining that Tyler had been through mistakes of his own and had chosen to use that experience to help others. Tyler began by telling his story, starting with the prank that had gone terribly wrong. He described the fear, the shame, and the embarrassment he had felt when he realized the man he accused was an FBI agent. He didn't embellish or dramatize. He spoke plainly about the mistakes he had made. A boy in the back raised his hand. "Did people really hate you because of that?" he asked. Tyler nodded. "Yes, some people did. But I also realized something important. You can't control how everyone reacts. You can only control how you respond and what you do next. That's the lesson I want to share." Another student asked, "Did it change you?" "It did," Tyler replied. "It forced me to think about the consequences of my actions, not just online but in real life. I had to face the fact that chasing attention can hurt people, and that includes people you don't even know." By the end of the session, students were asking questions, sharing their experiences, and even apologizing for their own past mistakes online. Tyler realized that honesty and openness had a ripple effect. One person's truth could inspire others to reflect and change. After leaving the school, Tyler met with Lewis at the community center. Lewis looked at him with quiet approval. "You've come a long way," he said. "The teens respect you. They listen to you." "That's not easy to earn," Tyler smiled. "It feels different, you know? Helping others. It's more fulfilling than getting likes or views." Lewis nodded. "That's because what you're doing now has meaning. Influence isn't about attention. It's about responsibility." A few weeks later, Tyler was invited to participate in a national digital awareness initiative. He was asked to create a series of videos that would reach students across the country, highlighting real-life consequences of online mistakes. Tyler felt nervous but ready. He knew this was bigger than any stunt or prank he had done in the past. As he worked on the project, he reflected on his journey. He remembered the day he had confronted Agent Lewis downtown, feeling bold and reckless. He remembered the fear and shame he had felt when the truth came out. He remembered the public backlash, the comments, the criticism. And he remembered the first workshop he had attended at the Pathway Youth Program, where he had realized that honesty and empathy were more powerful than attention. Now, as he shared his story on a national scale, he realized that his mistakes had become his most valuable lessons. He had turned a moment of failure into a lifetime of learning, and that learning was helping others avoid the same pitfalls. One evening, after a long day of filming, Tyler received an unexpected message. It was from one of the teens he had worked with months earlier.
"Thank you for helping me see things differently.
"I've started being more careful online and thinking before I post. You changed the way I think." Tyler felt a lump in his throat. This was what mattered, the difference he could make in someone's life. Not the views, not the likes, not the fame, just real change. A few days later, Lewis called him to his office. "Tyler," he said, "I've been watching your progress. You've done more than I expected. But there's one final step I want you to take." "What is it?" Tyler asked. "I want you to speak at a conference for educators and parents. Share your story with them. Show them the consequences of online behavior, but also the possibility of redemption. Show them that mistakes don't have to define a person if they're willing to learn and change." Tyler felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Speaking to teens was one thing, but educators and parents would hold him to a different standard. They would scrutinize his past, question his intentions, and judge his character. "I'll do it," he said after a moment. The day of the conference arrived. Tyler stood backstage, feeling the weight of responsibility. He took a deep breath and reminded himself why he was there. Not for himself, not for recognition, but for everyone who needed to hear the truth. When he stepped onto the stage, The audience fell silent. He began by telling his story, starting from the prank that went wrong, moving through the public backlash, and explaining how he had learned to take responsibility for his actions. He talked about the Pathway Youth Program, the workshops, and the national initiative. He shared stories of teens who had reflected on their behavior, parents who had started talking to their children about digital responsibility, and teachers who had adopted his lessons in their classrooms. By the time he finished, the audience was silent for a moment, and then applause filled the room. Not the wild cheers of a viral video, but genuine appreciation for someone who had made a mistake, faced it, and used it to help others. After the conference, Lewis met him backstage. "You did well," he said. "This is the culmination of everything you've learned. You've turned a moment of recklessness into a lifelong purpose." Tyler smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced before. "I never imagined it could be like this," he admitted. Lewis nodded. "Most people don't. They let mistakes define them. You chose a different path. That's what makes all the difference." In the weeks that followed, Tyler continued to work with Lewis and the Pathway Youth Program. He helped develop more workshops, spoke at events, and even mentored other young creators who had made mistakes online. Each time he shared his story, he could see the spark of understanding in their eyes, the moment they realized that their actions had consequences, but also the chance to make things right. One afternoon, as Tyler was packing up his camera equipment, a young boy approached him. "Hey," he said nervously, "I just wanted to say, thanks. You really helped me think before I post stuff online. I didn't realize it could hurt people so much." Tyler knelt down to his level and smiled. "I'm glad you're thinking about it. That's all that matters. Just keep making good choices and you'll be fine." The boy smiled and ran off to join his friends. Tyler watched him go and felt a quiet warmth in his chest. That moment, was what he had been working for. Not the views, not the likes, not the attention. Real change, one person at a time. That evening, Tyler sat alone in his apartment, reflecting on the journey that had started with a reckless prank. He thought about how far he had come, from a person obsessed with clout and attention, to someone using his experience to teach, guide, and inspire. He realized that mistakes weren't the end of a story. They were the beginning of learning. And he understood that true growth came not from avoiding failure, but from facing it, owning it, and choosing to do better. Tyler looked at his camera, the same one he had once used for pranks and chaos. This time he didn't feel the need to record anything. He simply smiled, thinking about all the lives he had touched and all the lessons he had learned. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he remembered that day downtown, the fear, the shame, and the moment he realized the man he accused was Agent Lewis. If he had taken a different path that day, he might never have learned what it meant to take responsibility, to change, or to help others. He realized that sometimes, the people you think are strangers can end up teaching you the most important lessons in life, and sometimes the worst mistakes can lead to the greatest growth. Tyler knew his journey wasn't over. There would always be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But now he had the tools, the perspective, and the purpose to face them. And as he closed his eyes that night, he felt a sense of peace, a quiet certainty that he was finally on the right path. Not because he had regained popularity or fame, but because he had learned to make a difference in the lives of others. The prank that had once threatened to define him now became the moment that changed everything. And Tyler, the boy who once chased attention without thinking, had finally learned what it meant to truly matter.